Sometimes people came to see me with some expectation, some kind of miracle blessing or something like that. And some people consider me as a healer. Too much expectation, I think unrealistic expectation, no good. And I want to make clear, we are same human being. I am nothing special. All same human being, whether Easterner or Westerner or Southerner or Northerner, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, or this religion or that religion, or believer or non-believer, we are same human being. Emotionally, mentally, physically, same. I think physically, maybe little differences. The shape of nose, you have quite sharp nose there. The color of hair, some differences. These are minor, but basically we are same. And we have same potential. We have the potential to transform one's own mind, one's own mental attitude. If someone today unhappy, always get angry, always get fear, or get some, jealousy, things like that, which eventually bring more unhappy. Then, because of the same potential, we can change that. Other hand, someone today happy, looks no worry, but because of some conditions, some causes, that also can turn a negative way. So we have basically the same potential. It's very important to know everyone can transform, transform into better person, happier person. I think that's important, have the feeling or have the sort of recognition. As I notice, some people really showing some kind of, excitement about the new millennium with some kind of, expectation that the new millennium itself brings some new happy days. I think that's wrong. I think wrong. Unless some new millennium inside here, then the external new millennium itself will not change much. Same days and nights, and same sun and moon, like that. The important thing is transformation or new sort of, new way of thinking, new mental attitude. I think that, we should make effort, to develop some kind of new, the inner world. Because through centuries, through generations, we humanity put every effort to develop society, mainly the material progress, material facilities, on the basis of science and technology. I think today, the world at large, and particularly in the Western nations, you really achieve, very high living standard, or the material facility really, high stage. But then, Then, you see, there are still a lot of problems, especially, you see, in the field of crimes and violence. In England and also in America, even some young people, without much reason, just using gun. And also the, I think, international sort of relations field. I often feel the nations which very much cherishing about freedom, democracy, liberty, even these nations, like America or in Western European countries, in the field of international relations, they're still relying more on force. I think these are, I feel, old concepts. In previous time, in the past, one's own national interest is more or less independent, or I think independent. So even, I think, the village to village, more or less self-supporting or self-sufficiency. In such circumstances, the concept of war, concept of violence, military sort of activities is very relevant. Victory, our side, defeat the enemy or the other side. But today, that situation completely changed. Not only village to village, nation to nation, but even continent to continent, heavily interdependent, particularly in the field of economy. Under that circumstances, destruction of your neighbor is actually destruction of yourself. So, the concept of this old thinking, I think that now, I think we can say, I think it is outdated sort of habit or policy. And then also the lifestyle. They always think or expectation every year national growth. If that growth stands still, then people feel, oh, something wrong. Sooner or later, we will reach. Now, no longer, no possibility to further goes. Here, now the gap, rich and poor. Global level, northerners, you have surplus. Southerners, same human being. I mean, human being of same planet. Look, their basic necessity also not adequate, and the starvations happen. Although I think some, causes their own mistake. Some of these nations, I think, put their wealth in military equipment, not putting effort for agriculture or these things. So result, you see these starvations or these things happen. And then within the nation, look, like America, very rich country, but within that country, gap, huge gap between rich people and poor people. My American, friend recently told me, in previous a few years ago, the number of billionaire around, I think, 15 or something. Now today, that much increased, number of billionaire much increased. But poor people still remain poor, and in some cases, even poorer. So, this gap, on global level or within the nation, this gap is not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. So we have to tackle these problems. So one way is we have to raise the living standard of those poorer countries and also within the countries. Then the natural resources, sooner or later, we will face the limits of the natural resources. So the lifestyle, also I think questionable. I think worthwhile to think. And then also the pollution. And that also I think serious sort of problems. They just, you see, a few conferences here and there, also I think very good. But the real effective implementation is necessary. Now again, this, I think they related with the lifestyle. In America and also here in London, so we can see the lot of motor cars, but many of these cars just one person. So each person possesses one car. Some cases, I think one family, 2 or 3 cars. Now think, Chinese population, 1.2 billion. India's population, around 900 millions. Together, about 2 billion. About 2 billion cars used in that continent. I think difficult, very difficult. So these are the problems. So therefore, sometimes I feel, not necessarily I think just me alone. I feel there are, millions of people who have some kind of critical view about present sort of existing. But you see, their voice usually, you see, not come out clearly. So perhaps I'm speaking on behalf of these sort of millions of people who remain silent, or their voice very limited. I feel so I think I should put we feel. We feel, you see, the reality and our sort of, perception or attitude seems, some gap. So the reality much changed, but our mental state still remains some old fashions. So that sometimes creates more trouble. And then another thing, some of the problem which we are facing, even like Kosovo problem or Northern Ireland, and also similar is a problem in some other area, and Indonesia, and these is a problem. Of course, I'm not expert on each problem, but roughly speaking, or from the distance, as far as I sort of get the information, these problems I feel not develop over one night, but through decades, some cases through generations. So these, I feel, at the initial stage, where there is more chance to to put some effort or to change the situation, to cool down the situation. But then at that time, people not much pay attention, just ignore, or feel may not be okay, may not be, maybe okay, may not be so serious, or people themselves have to look, have to take care. That kind of, I think, attitude. So then when things become, the causes and conditions all fully ripen, then from the Buddhist viewpoint, according
to Buddhist understanding, when causes and conditions have really moved for a long period of time and reached such a point, then you reach a point where you can't reverse the process.
I feel that many of the problems, I think that's the, I mean, it happened like that. At the initial stage, there's more chance to reduce the problem or to eliminate the problem or to prevent the future sort of crisis. But we neglected. I think the Tibetan issue also, I feel like that. In 20s, 30s, 40s, during those years, I feel Tibetans themselves very much neglected about the future of Tibet. So it happened like that. So then, when real crisis then fully exploded, then too late. The human emotion, when reached out of control, then very, very difficult to handle. And the using force is almost, I think,
Of course, it's a last resort.
One of the, I think, aspect of violence is unpredictable. Once you committed violence, although at the initial stage, or although at the beginning, your own intention, your intention is use limited violence. But once you committed violence, is unpredictable. It always creates unexpected implications. And violence, counter-violence, it seems the Kosovo issue, I think exactly is happening like that. So, the using violence is, I think, basically, I mean, generally speaking, wrong method, particularly in this modern period or modern era. So therefore, now you see, judging these sort of development or these sort of event, current event, there are some, I think, the indication that our mental attitude, we are something lacking. In any case, if we develop some kind of right kind of attitude, I feel that we can reduce some of these problems. Some problem may eliminate. As I think some of these problems are essentially man-made problem, our own creation. So if humanity have more sort of, I think, appropriate or right kind of method with long-sighted and holistic view, then I think, and accordingly make effort, certainly I think situation can change. There are signs of some, I think, the wider perspectives now growing. Humanity, so see, we can say, I think, humanity becoming more mature. So still, if we make, I think, the effort tirelessly, mainly through education. I think then next millennium could be, I think, more peaceful. So therefore, first, I think we have to make some kind of good preparation about new millennium. Then if we fully prepare, then I think worthwhile to have some kind of excitement about the new millennium. But without some change here, just you should expect a millennium, the new year itself brings some kind of big change. I think that's the unrealistic. The good brain balanced with warm heart, sense of responsibility, sense of caring, sense of discipline go together. Then it can be more constructive. So I think in the modern society or the modern education system, I hope you see pay more attention about the development of warm heart. I think that's necessary. So here, in the education institution, right from the kindergarten up to university, I think it is important, you see, to introduce the whole life, individual or the society or the family. The moral ethics are very important. Without that, you can't be a happy person, you can't have happy family. Through that way, you can't have the happy society. Then also, it is, I think, very essential or useful to introduce in the minds of children, whenever they find some conflict, the best way, realistic way to solve the conflict is dialogue, not violence. Violence means one-sided victory, one-sided defeat. That's not how to say realistic now today. As I mentioned earlier, if there is sort of clear-cut interest, my interest and their others' interest, then they defeat other side, victory one side. But now today, interest so much mixed, so it is impossible. So therefore, the only thing is 50-50. If possible, one's own side 60%, the other side 40%. Otherwise, there is no possibility to one-side victory. So under that circumstances, dialogue. Share 50-50. In order to solve the problem, you have to keep interest of others. And then, you see, take care about their interest. With that, try to find a solution. Because, you see, there is some form of conflict, disagreement among the human society, always there. Even within oneself, we can find, always, I think, the morning, one idea, you fully convinced that idea, but afternoon, another idea. So between these ideas, conflict. Sometimes you find it difficult. I think two conflict mind here, sometimes I think lead suicide also. So the wise way is the two conflict idea, you see, think both sides, then synthesize, right? Synthesize. So the contradictory or differences are itself not bad. Without contradiction, no progress. Even I think body, there is contradictory forces. So come together, more balance, then progress there. So therefore, similarly, contradictory views, and wisely sort of judge and overcome, then new ideas will come. So therefore, contradictory itself, not bad. I think basis of further development. But then it become out of control, violence. Then this is really unfortunate. So therefore, once the student have that kind of sort of habit, as soon as some is a conflict there, the immediate response, what the way of dialogue, not violence, not fighting. Immediately, think dialogue. What's the dialogue? Sometimes I'm telling some audience through such sort of training, there is possibility when a student return from school to home, if parent fighting, then student, as their children, may say, "Oh, this is wrong. My parent should find a dialogue." Then I think through such a sort of training, through such method, one way, try to make it clear, we are human beings, social animal. Our interest rests on the society. So each individual should be a warm-hearted person, sensible person, good citizen of the society should be. That bring peace of mind, individual level, family level, community level. Whenever some contradictions, whenever some different views happen, dialogue, discuss, share each other peacefully through relaxed manner. But so long we are human beings, so long we are part of the human society, without these human good qualities, then the person himself or herself cannot be a happy person. The very purpose of our life is happiness. So those things which something directly related with the happy life, then this no point to neglect. So these human values, basic human values, we can call, without religious faith, that's secular ethics. Basically, I believe human nature is more gentleness. Although there are some different opinions, some say human nature is aggressiveness. But I feel judging our sort of the development of whole life, from the beginning of our birth is up to death. I think aggressiveness occasionally comes. But the sort of, I think, kind of, affections, I think whole life very much involved. Then also, according to our body, body constitution, or body sort of cell, itself seems to go well with peace of mind. Agitated mind usually bring more sort of unbalanced body cells or elements. So therefore, the peace of mind is very important for good health. The body structure also seems not for fight, but for embracing. Look of hand. If hand meant for hit, I think then like this hoof, I think enough, even more powerful to hit. Like boxer, they deliberately have to remain like that. So therefore, the basic human sort of, I think the physical structure, also I think more gentleness. Then more important, according to medical science, after birth, next few weeks, according to medical science, very, very crucial, important period. Because next few weeks, the brain enlarging very rapidly. During that period, the physical touch, whether mother or someone else's physical touch, is one of the most important factor for healthy development of the brain. So the physical response shows we need human affection. Then oneself also, more compassionate mind there, the peace of mind come. Because here, you see, a moment, think about others, our mind become wider, open. Then one's own problem then appears insignificant. Other hand, think just me. Then whole mental is focusing very narrow sort of circle. Even small problems, tiny problem, then appears very big problem. And also, when you think about others' welfare, share others' suffering, during that moment, you may have some kind of unhappy or disturbed your mind. But that essentially you voluntarily take. Whereas one's own problem, you say, happen, there's something involuntarily, you see, overwhelmed. So in deep, you see, in deep insight, there is courage, self-confidence, inner strength, voluntarily take, you see, caring of others who are suffering or others sort of problem. So in deep insight, there is strength. So make big differences. So according to my own little experience, is meditate more on compassion. Think about others, infinite sentient beings sort of, which is suffering or problems. It immense sort of feeling of inner strength. And one's own problem here and there, then feel, oh, doesn't matter, that kind of feeling. So that bring us inner strength, more self-confidence, reduce fear, doubt. And through that way, automatically open our inner door. Through that way, we can communicate with human brothers, sisters everywhere, easily. Because your side open. The other's response also easily come accordingly. Other hand, fear, hatred, doubt, here, inner door closed. Then, to everyone, suspect. And the worst thing, your own experience, more suspicion, more doubt. So therefore, you also get the impression that other people also some kind of similar suspicion or the doubt. So result, more distance, mentally distance. So result, loneliness and more frustrations. So therefore, the compassion, the concept of sort of caring for others, I think really something a wonderful thing. So the problem, usually people get the impression, the message of compassion, love, the forgiveness, these things are rather a religious matter. So people who have no special interest about religion or not much serious interest about religion, then also neglected these values. I think that's wrong. So we must pay more attention about these values. So that's, I think, one preparation of the next millennium. I think one unique thing of the human being is religious faith. an animal kingdom or others, no such things there. So the religious faith, useful if you properly use. If you do not use properly, then that also brings more disaster. Because religious faith involves human emotion. So sometimes human emotion go wrong way. There is no room about the reason. And then become fanatics or the fundamentals. These things also happen. So therefore, we need more effort to sustain or to have religious faith, utilize all the potential of the various major world religious traditions to betterment, to serve humanity, to save planet, things like that. And meantime, reduce the conflict in the name of religions. Since a few years, I practice a few sort of methods, and also some of my, other spiritual brothers, sisters, also, they are now, joining these sort of methods. Number one, meeting between different religious, scholars, and discuss what differences and what similarities, more or less on academic level. Second, meeting with sincere or serious practitioners, exchange their inner experiences. This is very, very powerful, very helpful to understand the value of other traditions. My own case, like the meeting with Thomas Merton, late Thomas Merton, and some other religious sort of serious practitioner, then really, meeting with these people really opened my eye. Then third, the pilgrim. Some time back, one occasion, I visited the southern France, Lourdes, not as a tourist, but as a pilgrim. I visited, and I drank the water, and stand in the front of the Mary statue. Then think, here on this place, millions of people who are seeking blessing or tranquility, they get satisfaction on this spot. And then look, the statue of the Mary. Some kind of deep feeling, admiration, and appreciation of that tradition. It simply provides immense sort of benefit to millions of people. So very useful, to get some kind of deeper feeling or through vibrations of these sacred places. Last year at Bodh Gaya, some my sort of acquaintance, some Christian brothers, sisters, came to Bodh Gaya and spent a few days there. We had some dialogue, Buddhist and Christian dialogue at Bodh Gaya. Then each morning under Bodhi tree, we all together sitting under Bodhi tree and meditation. I think that is historic. I think since Buddha came, more than 2,500 years, since Jesus Christ came, now almost 2,000 years, I think that is, first time. So these are I think, useful method to develop mutual understanding, mutual respect. And the same message, peace, peace. I think that's very helpful. So that's the method, I think, regarding the development of religious harmony. Now with that, I think then another thing I want to share with you here. Perhaps some may not agree, but I don't care. I want to say that is when we talk about the promotion of the sense of caring of others, sense of sharing of others is a problem, and try to reduce hatred. The hatred, should not give any room for hatred. Individually, family, or society, or even, I think, humanity as a whole, I think we should not give any chance for hatred, because hatred is the real destroyer of our peace or our happiness. So that is something like inner disarmament. With inner disarmament and also awareness, now concept of war, concept of the military activities, destructions are outdated. Then we have to think seriously how to reduce weapons. Now, firstly, nuclear weapon. That, fortunately, already now, there are plans or programs to dismantle nuclear warhead. That's very good, wonderful. I think good start. Now, not only just making limited number, but I think total destruction of nuclear weapon. That I think very important. I think feasible. Still, I think we need more effort. Then, step by step, eventually, I think world eventually should be free of the military establishment. So world then could be a demilitarized world. I think that's our long-term target, should be our long-term target. I'm not saying that just overnight, but I think it is worthwhile to have some kind of blueprint in our mind. Each nation as a whole, no military forces, like Costa Rica, more than 50 years, now they already practice or enjoy the demilitarized sort of state. So that, I think, inner disarmament and external disarmament go together. I think then there will be, firstly, I think, save a lot of money. Now looks, when these, I think the bombs or cruise missiles, each one, a lot of money involved. So then weeks, month, lot of money is involved. I think instead of wasting or for use for destruction, I think use more constructive. Imagine this amount of money if you build hospital or school in these poor countries, and how much benefit can be. We have to think these lines. So these are, I feel, important is to think about the benefit of or the happier human future. So I think the less excitement, think more inward, more more pay attention about better preparation for the new millennium, I think new millennium, now my age, I think belong this century, so eventually ready to say goodbye. So the younger generation, you are the, I think, people who really making shape about the next century. So think more carefully, without emotions, without attachment, and think more wide perspectively and long-sighted. I think that's very, very important. Western nations, like NATO's, I think taking care, showing concern about the human rights violations in Kosovo and the suffering of the Kosovo people. That's of course very good. Very good. And also is it trying to stop the what called ethnic cleansing. Such I think the awful sort of policy, very sad, very sad. Now, elder generation, some elder generation still have the clear memory about the during Nazis. You see, such is a horrible genocide is a practice. So the response for these, I think, very, encouraging or very, very good. But then method, using force, as I briefly mentioned before also. Now this is, basically I always against the use of force. All religion unify. Sometimes I call compassion is universal religion. But if you see, in the sense, all religion, you see, unified, and some idea turn from this religion, some idea from that, and then make a new religion that called universal religion. I think that is silly. It is much better to keep these different religious traditions so that each religious unique things remain. So through that way, variety of philosophy or variety of tradition remain with uniqueness, each uniqueness. Unique teachings. So that can satisfy variety of people. I think the very reason why there is so many different major world religious traditions happen at first place, because there are different people. So therefore, one religious tradition simply cannot satisfy variety of people. So therefore, it is much better to have these different religious traditions. But at the same time, as I mentioned before briefly, there are differences. Some differences are fundamental differences. Recently, in Argentina, a dialogue between religion and science. I just casually sort of mentioned Buddhism do not accept concept of, in Buddhism, no concept of creator, self-creation. So law of causality, beginningless. So no sort of the concept of creator. Then afterward, when the discussion is started, the bishop showed, expressed, he rather surprised because he got the impression even Buddhism also accept the God or creator. So then he told, oh, then there is no basis of dialogue between Christianity and Buddhism. but he expressed very sort of, jovial way. Then I told him, oh yes, there is big differences, fundamental differences. Still, yet, there are common practice. The common message, like message of compassion, love, forgiveness, contentment, or other many things. So, like that, there are differences. But if you look, what is the purpose of this different philosophy? You can see same purpose. One Christian, if he or she, genuine Christian, first you should show genuine love and compassion towards your fellow human being. That is the real meaning of love to God. If someone, no bother to practice love and compassion towards your fellow human being, but same time say, God, God, God's grace, God's grace, I think it's hypocrisy. No good. So, in order to be a good Christian, they practice compassion, love, forgiveness. Like the Bible, you say, if someone hit, you see here, you show this. These are the really practice of tolerance. So there are many, I think the similarities there. So they looking the result or the purpose of these different traditions, then we can see a same result, same potential. To some people, the Buddhist concept and also the Jainism, no creator, everything depends on one's own shoulder. So that way of approach more effective to some people. So they looking from result side or the potential side, we can see each have unique way to produce good human being.
Where does anger come from?
Here I think the different explanation with different philosophy. I think from the Buddhist viewpoint, the anger comes from ignorance. Or immediately, I think anger comes if there is more attachment, more attachment there is possibility to get more anger. And basically because of the ignorance. So that's the Buddhist explanation. Then, of course, the anger, like anger is the negative emotion, also part of our mind. On the other hand, compassion, loving kindness, altruism, these also part of our mind. So what important is analyze the mind's thoughts. What thought or mind is useful? What thought is harmful? After analyze, then find out contradictory thought. One, like the anger or hatred and the loving kindness is contradictory to each other. So after after analyze what the benefit of hatred, what the benefit of loving kindness. If you feel loving kindness is something useful, then as a countermeasure for hatred or anger, practice increase the loving kindness. This thought increase, the opposing thought will reduce. So that's the way of training of mind. That's the transformation of our mind. That's the improvement of oneself. So I think irrespective whether believer or non-believer, the more loving kindness is feeling here, to think more about here and analyze these different thoughts and minds. And then try to best use some of these good thoughts and try to minimize these negative thoughts. So I think that's the training of mind. I think everyone, I think useful to carry such experiment. And also you see here, whether you see rich or poor, no differences. You see, we have same brain, we have, I think, same laboratory here. So taking experiment. I hope each of us who really believe the importance of peace, then first create inner peace, as I mentioned earlier, on the basis of compassion or sense of caring of others. Think about global responsibility or the welfare of humanity, because we're also part of humanity. So at least in order to fulfill one's own share, try to make a contribution for the betterment of the society. So with some kind of firm determination and volunteer determination, and day by day, in the early morning, as soon as I get up, think, what is the purpose of my life? Oh, happiness. And my life, not meant for create pains on others, no. Even limits to serve, to help others, at least try to develop sense of concern, with a sense of wish, to, as a happiness of all sentient beings, or all human beings. Then every day, morning, think these things. These is a few sort of, a few like, I say, think in these points. Day by day, month by month, yes, eventually you find some effect, some change in your mind. Then, you see, that kind of the shaping certain, I think, the mental attitude. Then the rest of the day, whatever your professions, business, or teacher, or scientist, or lawyer, or ordinary sort of shopkeeper, or the worker in a factory, at every level, carrying your work with that feeling which develop, which has been trying to shape in early morning. Yes, we have to tackle that, but without much sort of hatred or much, you see, the agitation. Gently. Sometimes, on the surface, you may use some harsh word or harsh attitude, but in deep inside, still calm, more compassionate mind. That's very possible. That's, I think, real action of peace. Then plus some prayer, close eye and some prayer.